Hello everyone, we are here in a very special, at least for me, very special place. We're in the house of Dönni, which in my opinion is one of the best Jaguar restorers in the world.
Thank you.
And we have also a little bit of royalty of Jaguar behind us. And we want to talk a little bit about concepts that I threw some months ago. And I think yours has a very good knowledge to talk about these concepts. And yours, hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Very well.
Yours, I want to talk a little bit about concepts like preservation versus restoration, original and authentic. So you are well known for respect the classic cars when approaching a restoration. Okay? So you like to preserve versus restore. Okay? Why is that, and why is the difference between restoration and preservation?
Well, we believe that a car is a historic monument, maybe.
Yeah.
Therefore, it must not be remade. You need to keep as much of the original material if possible. But the essence of a car is that you can drive it, and therefore you got limitations, because if the functionality is no longer kept, it's the essence of the car is lost. I believe that the essence of a car is driving it, and if you can't drive the car, it's missing. It's just a sculpture. They are sculptures, of course, but these are sculptures that can be used. That's a good thing.
Good. So preservation is to keep as many of the original parts in the car during the process of a restoration. Can we define it that way?
That's exactly it. That we can keep as much of the original material as possible. But I mean, there are two things. There is function is one thing, and then quite often it's also money is the other thing, because it's easier just fitting a reproduced part and then it's done and sorted. But keeping a original part or original substance might be much more expensive. But we will see that, I believe, in later today.
Yes. So this is very important because you are talking about original piece, reproduction. So a reproduction of a piece is not the original anymore, right? So what is original then? What is an original piece?
It would be nice if you find the original, an original part that is still lying about somewhere.
Okay.
We do have a lot of original parts still, second-hand or new parts, but quite often it's just when you've got to replace it after 40 years, it's usually a good car that survived 40 years. So a wing, for example, like this XJ, which we've got here, which you might show later, I don't know. Initially, these wings had accident damage, then they had rust damage. So the factory was always interested in producing them because they could sell them. But now the cars are all restored, and so you don't need wings anymore until you look closer. And then you see it's maybe very dead and it got repaired several times. You can't get wings anymore. We only have one in stock now left. And so you will need to use second-hand units or maybe restore the one you have. And so you have an original wing which is that long, and you replace that part, and you kept all that material, but it's still handiwork or it's still work in it, and so quality and it's difficult to maintain. So it's always, you've got to decide as you go along.
Okay. So to be a little bit more precise on what is original versus authentic. So original piece, original part of component of a car is the one that the car left the factory with.
That's
so
right.
It was built in periods, okay? And then an authentic piece will be a reproduction of the original part.
That's right.
Okay, that is done and built with the same methods and same material, right? So
This is interesting. I mean,
Okay.
I don't exactly make that difference, but quite right. I mean, original is what was with the car.
Okay.
But when you have an accident and you get the spare part,
Yeah.
it's no longer the original material. But on a car that was produced in larger series, it's still the same.
Okay, so it's the authentic. Okay,
But-
no, it's not the original part, but it's authentic because it
That's right,
comes from
that's
the
right,
original
yes, yeah.
factory production of spare parts.
But if it comes of other tooling, then it's a reproduction.
Okay.
But I mean, it is needed. I mean, if you need suspension
Yeah,
parts, they're
sometimes.
no longer available. And therefore, you need to have somebody who is reproducing these parts. And quite often, it's no longer of the original tooling.
Fair enough, fair enough. Another question, yours, is when a restoration is an authentic restoration. Are there different types of restoration?
I actually believe that the classic car world is now trying to define what is authentic, what is original, what is in German we even have Restaurierung und Restauration, two words that are close but not the same, but finally one is used the wrong way. So word-wise, I believe, I know that Christian Jenny is working on that with his organization to define the words what means what. But it depends to whom you talk. They've got a different understanding of all these words, and therefore I do not dare saying authentic, original, real, unreal, repro.
But what is your opinion? I mean, what is?
Well, I mean, my opinion is the essence in the word. I mean, if you restore something, it's Latin, and that means putting it back to how it was. Okay. And so this is restoration. But if you fit the 5-speed gearbox, and if you fit electronic ignition, and if you fit, I don't know what sort of other suspension parts, different brakes, GRP bonnet or GRP parts, despite the car should have aluminium parts, etc., this is not original, and original is as factory. And so then it's rather more a renovation, because you make it new. But if you keep something as original, then it's a restoration.
An authentic restoration, I would say. I remember that I was once taking a look to the Geneva E-Type, and I saw like the bodywork had bended a little bit, you know, and then I saw, George, look, and then when you tell me, that's because I did a very good job during the restoration. So, because you reproduce, you know, or you build the car as the same way they were building the car in period, and therefore she developed the same defects.
That's right. That's right. We love if the car are aging the same way, but in period a car was used for 3-4 years, and you saw that, and the car turned older. But now it's a classic car, and you cherish it. So it takes 10-20 years for a car to show age.
Okay.
But what you're talking about is the bonnet. Early E-Type bonnets, they were spot welded.
Yeah.
But it's such a massive panel work. You can't spot weld to it because it moves, it bends, and so you will start to see the spot welds through the paint. And this is what is now, after 20 years, you can see on the Geneva E-Type, you can see the spot welds, because we reassembled it after doing all the work to it. We assembled it also with spot welds and built it the same as it was originally.
So you restore it the same way, using the same methods and period, and
same method, exactly.
And therefore that's an authentic restoration, because you could have done a perfect bonnet that never bends, and then there will be a renovation, not a restoration.
Well, I mean, we could have bought a new bonnet.
Exactly.
Bonnets are still available,
yeah,
but they are all glued nowadays. They're no longer spot welded because of these problems.
Okay.
But this early bonnet also is very asymmetrical, and we restored it the same way it was. It's the same asymmetricality as it was before. And you also see that the mouth, the air intake, is much smaller on early cars, and it's also not fully oval. It's a bit lopsided.
good. So George, what is your approach about the documentation and history of the cars? Is it important or not? Shall we do it or not? What is the recommendation for our owners?
Well, I mean, first of all, you have the car, which is which tells its story, and you see you see the car, you see how it drives, you see the color, you see the trim, and we try to do it as original as possible. But what's also with the car is the car built up history over the years, and history is, of course, the starts basically when the car left the factory. During production, it's difficult to find history because it's a usually mass-produced car. If it's not the mass-produced car, even then it's not well documented, and so history usually starts when the car is leaving the factory. And then it is, first of all, the different owners, and if you put important owners, it's lovely, it's a bonus. And then what the car experienced. So if you have a race car, history is very important. This car here had been actually, I've got to admit that, this car here was the last XJR5 ever built, chassis number 11. But this car doesn't have any race history, and so that takes quite a lot of value off the car.
Yeah.
It is a real car. The car was built by Group 44. It's all Group 44 parts, but the car was built after the racing series.
Yeah.
On a spare chassis that was still around. But because they didn't bend the cars, it survived. And so it's on one hand, it's a new car, so it's better quality, but race history is missing.
Yeah.
And so the value is lower than that.
I understand.
And so this is it. But I believe that the owner needs to look after the history, and I believe that the owner needs to collect the documents. What we do is, when we have a car in our workshop and we do a big job, we try to dive into the history to give something to the customer, that he got something he can base his research on. But documenting, I believe, that's up to the customer, and then maybe up to you. If the customer tells you to do the documentation,
we help with preserving all of that.
Yes,
sure. How much you think it is in the history of the car and documentation? So a car with documentation and a car without documentation, is there a difference in value?
I believe in it. With important, valuable cars, history is more important than with normal cars. That are placed money-wise in the 5-digit area, not 6-digit area.
Yeah.
But I actually believe that it's undervalued.
Yeah.
Because history is that really makes the car an individual. When it left the factory, it was just
one more.
The product.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
Yes. Mass or not so mass produced. And then the car is amassing history, and this needs to be written down. This needs to be
becomes unique, you know.
Yeah. And this, I believe, is the essence of the car. Of this very car, I have pictures where the car was with the first owner. The car is signed by the man who built the car, or by Bob Tullius, who owned Group 44. The mirror is signed if you have a look at it. Yeah. And I'm always looking for pictures. There are not so many cars about, and you go through pictures and you surf on the internet. All of a sudden you say, look at that, this is the car with that strange air intake, that must be mine. And so that's the research for history is also very exciting, I believe.
Yes, yes. I think we have enough, you know. Good. What do you think?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So let's take a look.